How's it going, everybody? Thank you very much for tuning in here at odds.com. The Diehard MMA podcast is streamed exclusively here on odds.com. And if you want to watch the replay, click the link below. Head on over to odds.com to check it out. Barrett's got some power, so I think there's a chance this thing ends early, and that's about all we got. So moving this show right along here, we got Mackenzie Dern taking on Virna Jandiroba, women's strawweight fight. Mackenzie Dern 9-1, Virna 16-1. And Matt, you know what? Since you're diving in here late, I'll let you kick this one off. Like, what do you feel about this one?
So I think I'm going to be on the opposite end of a lot of people here. I already have a bet on the under 2.5 rounds at even money. And let's face it, both of these are jiu-jitsu specialists here, right? Mackenzie Dern, I think, what is it? Jandiroba, 13 submission wins.
Yep.
Mackenzie Dern, 6 sub wins and 0 knockout wins combined. We understand what both of these young ladies' games are. Dern, the more amateur, accomplished Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist here, but Jandiroba, an ace on the ground as well. And a lot of times people say, well, you get 2 ground fighters and it turns into a slow one strike at a time stand-up affair. I think that's true when you get 2 wrestlers together and they have a hard time taking each other down, or even grapplers that are submission-based but have a good wrestling game. And here, neither one of these ladies are actually great double leg or great takedowns. They're just maybe the 2 best female submission artists, at least in that division. I actually think this one's probably going to hit the ground. I think that the way that they just are going to clunk into each other, Mackenzie Dern just finds a way to go down, even if it's getting hit or whatever. We saw against Hannah Cifers even. Granted that Cifers was massively overmatched. She just finds ways to get fights to the ground. And then we're talking about 2 Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialists. Well, go watch a BJJ event. Even the best BJJ guys in the world, they end up submitting each other. They catch each other in something. Somebody makes a mistake. So I think the idea that this fight suddenly has to become a slow one strike at a time kickboxing match just because they both have the exact same strength, which is Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialists, I don't necessarily agree with, and I ended up taking the under. And if you look at both of these ladies win their fights by submission, which is something that's pretty rare in the UFC women's divisions, is that women that can consistently finish. Mackenzie Dern, her last 3 wins, all by first round submission. Jandiroba, 2 straight wins in the UFC by submission, including a submission win over the ultra-tough Felice Herrig. I just think somebody's getting submitted here, and I got the whole fight to do it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to take the under at even money.
Okay. So you definitely are going to be going against the grain here a little bit. For me personally, I think this is a spot where we get so much value when these women's totals are set at even money. I'm going to be looking towards the over because the way I see this fight playing out, so you absolutely nailed it. Both of these women are jiu-jitsu specialists. Mackenzie Dern has no wrestling ability whatsoever.
No.
Her last couple of opponents have all essentially fallen in to her guard. They have somehow, I can't explain the bad fight IQ that has gone into her last 3 opponents, just diving into her when she gets on the ground. She doesn't get fights to the ground herself. Her opponents somehow do it for her.
Agreed.
Now, this is a spot where Jandiroba, I think she's smart enough to either not do that or control the situation. Virna Jandiroba has got a sick wrestling top game, and she is smothering when she gets on top of you. It's a spot where I think that it's more than likely going to play out at least a bit on the feet. And like you said, both of them are bad on the feet. No one's getting knocked out in this type of a fight. But I think that when it goes to the ground, Mackenzie will be more than happy to accept bottom position, whereas Virna will be the one looking for that control, looking for that top position. Now, will she submit Mackenzie Dern? That remains to be seen. But I think they will be savvy enough that maybe we get kind of a very slow, grindy, stalling type of women's fight here. So I'm going to wish you luck, but I've already locked in a bet on Virna Jandiroba. I got her at plus 145. And if I had to play the total, I'd be looking for the value side on that over 2.5.
Everyone I know took the over, and I said, boy, the numbers here say that these two women win by submission,
Mhm.
and I just feel like this one's going to end up on the ground because they're both so comfortable there. It's not like you're right. I mean, Dern has no wrestling game. She will literally just fall backwards and
Yeah.
accept top. She will accept bottom position here just to get this on the ground. And a lot of times when someone is so willing to accept bottom position, the fight ends up on the ground because neither one of them really know how to strike. Even Jandiroba. I do like the Jandiroba side. I'm very intrigued by that side. I may end up with a play on that side as well, although I am on the underside of the total. What can I say? I already bet it. It's
Hey, it
there.
is. We've talked about the value in going against the grain, right? Like we've talked about being able to bet against the general public, and that works out a lot. So you might not be wrong even if you're on an island. And as far as the betting line goes, I messed up. I thought that people would be seeing what I see. I can't read line movements very well. I have a hard time imagining people viewing fights other than the way that I'm viewing them. So money is flooding in here on Mackenzie Dern, and I'm very tempted to get more down on Virna Jandiroba, even though I'm not overly confident in her, making her like a 2-unit play or something like that, because the line value is just nuts to me. I think this is a 50-50 fight. I don't think either person should be overly favored. And I think that the wrestling of Jandiroba is going to be the difference maker. She's going to be the first person in the UFC that Mackenzie Dern has fought besides Amanda Ribas who is going to be able to defend a heel hook. And
Yeah.
we saw her go to decision because she couldn't get that sub in her last fight out. Now, word on the street is that Mackenzie Dern is training with guys like Luke Rockhold, and that's a big narrative in this fight, that she's getting some higher level training and maybe her striking will be better. But I got to tell you guys a little story. There, years ago, before my wife was my wife, I was trying to impress this girl and I'm dating her, and she got me on a show called Millionaire Matchmaker. And if you haven't seen that one, it's this lady that tries to match up rich people, and they're all absolutely obnoxious. And the reason they haven't found love is because they're horrible to be around. Luke Rockhold was on an episode of Millionaire Matchmaker. They were trying to tie in with the hype of the UFC rising and stuff like that. And he dropped this girl that was drop dead gorgeous because he's a complete asshole and a womanizer. So I'm a little suspicious about Luke Rockhold maybe having some ulterior motives over there training with Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, absolutely he might. And I don't know that training with Luke Rockhold at this point's that great. I mean, Rockhold maybe once upon a time, but his skill set deteriorated pretty quickly. And he's never been known as exactly the most dedicated guy in the gym for all of his other talents.
She might catch the disease that his chin has too. You want to stay away from that guy. All right, so we've got Matt taking a look at the under. I am leaning to the over, and I've got a bet on Virna Jandiroba in this spot. With the line moving the opposite direction, very tempted to add more. So keep touch on that one.
This could be one of those situations. You and I talk about it all the time. When do you bet a fight? Let's face it here. When it comes to the promotion and the name, Mackenzie Dern is the A side of the equation here. And I wouldn't be surprised if in a bigger card like this, and we tend to see it in pay-per-views, where people, I want to bet the pay-per-view. I'm excited. Oh, I know Mackenzie Dern. I'll bet her. I'm not sure this line's going to come back down in a hurry. So if you like Jandiroba, I don't know that there's any rush to bet, because I think you might be able to get plus 170, plus 165 by Saturday.
I like it. I'm going to sit back and see where this thing goes. That's definitely something that I'm going to have to keep an eye on. Good advice on sitting tight there if you decide to go on Virna. So we have got 289 live viewers. I just want to go ahead and shout out the chat again. Say thank you all so much for hanging out with us this evening on the show. There's a double header going on in the NFL. The fact that we've got this many people hanging out live to talk MMA is just thumbs up. Thank you all very much. Do us a favor, hit that like button, share the show out there. Get us let's get up there to 400 if we can. See if we can pull that off by the time the show wraps up here.